something that comes, I believe, out of humongous, horrific pain. Good must come. Out of injustice, good must come. And not by demanding, but by creating something that creates something good. Who's up for this? Who likes this idea here, ladies and gentlemen? So my way of looking at that is, how do you create a breakthrough? And that's what I want to focus on for this little session with you now. What is a breakthrough? You know, everybody says, I'd like a breakthrough, but what is it? Do me a favor, put in the chat box your definition of a breakthrough. I'd like to see what your definition is. I'm seeing people still talking about the losses here, but tell me now what your definition of a breakthrough. Okay, an insight. Okay, immediate change. Okay, what does that say? That one's hard to read. Okay, this one's saying understanding a deeper truth, a massive change in your behavior. Okay, all those are really good examples, I'll give you my definition, if I may. There's no wrong definition. In my life, a breakthrough is a moment in time. It's a moment in time when everything changes in your life. And it changes because what you thought was impossible, you now know is possible, and most importantly, you act on it. You don't just think about it, you do something. See, you're stuck. People get stuck in sadness. They get stuck in acceptance. They get stuck in anger. But in order to create something new, you just got to know your whole life can change in a moment. If you don't like your body, change it. If you don't like your relationship, change it. Maybe start by changing you, because otherwise you'll throw your pendulum and just find somebody else. After a while, you have the same problems, right? If you don't like your business, change. You don't like your career, change. You don't like your income, change. You go, Tony, well, that sounds so easy, but it's not like that. Yes, it is. But in order to do it, you got to create a breakthrough. You have to find something inside you, that moment where you know that you can absolutely change. And not only can you, the impossible is possible, and you do something. You take action. Now, all of you have had moments of breakthroughs in your life. How many of you have had something in your life that maybe you struggled with for years? A change you wanted to make, needed to make, and you just didn't do it. You came to the edge of doing it, and then you procrastinated or put it off, or you gave up, you know, and then were mad at yourself. But eventually, one day, something happened that pushed you over the edge. And in one moment, you said, not another day, not another hour, I'm changing this now. Who's done this somewhere in your life, ladies and gentlemen, with your body, your relationship? How many of you have ever been in a relationship way too long where you knew it was wrong? You knew it was wrong for you, it was wrong for them, but you stayed. Why? Because this need for certainty, that basic human survival need of certainty. Well, I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. Maybe being alone is even worse, right? But maybe one day, things change, because you used to say, oh, it'll get better in the future. Or I remember it used to be better in the past. Because see, when there's pain in the present moment, we can escape the pain by going backwards or forwards. Humans can do that. We can make up a future, whether it's true or not, or we can remember a good moment. But you may have had a day one day where you finally said, it's been painful in the past, it's painful now, it's painful, I am changing this now. That's usually a moment of a breakthrough, because you now just decide. You don't even know how necessarily, but you're going to change it, and you do. So here's what I want first. I'm going to give you 3 questions, I think, here. And what I want you to do is, by the way, what can create a breakthrough? It can be a conversation with somebody. It could be an insight. It could be reading a book. It could be attending a seminar. It could be a movie, right? It could be something that challenges you. It could be meeting somebody that inspires you because they're doing things differently. And you see, man, if they could do it, I could do that. Who's ever had an experience like this, right? Or maybe it was enough emotion in you that just did it. But here's what I want to ask you. I'm going to give you a couple questions. I want you to write them down for a couple moments, and then we're going to process them. So first, I want you to think of a breakthrough in your life that you struggled with for a long time. So what was the area where you struggled, but you did create a breakthrough? I want you to write down, what is that area, right? And my question for you is, you know, you may have worked at it a lot and didn't change, but then it changed in a moment. I know you could say, well, I made all these changes, but there was a moment when you finally said, enough of this, and you did something. What made you change in that moment? Was it anger? Was it frustration? Was it inspiration? Was it seeing a new example of what's possible? What made that change in that moment? You could have changed all those other times, but you didn't. So let's take a look, because what we want to do here, guys, is recognize your own patterns. Because if we can find out how you made a breakthrough years ago in one area, we can use that same pattern to help you have a breakthrough in a new area. So the second question is, the moment of change, what triggered it? What made change a must? We all know when he says, I should do this and I should do that. I should spend time with my kids. I should lose weight. I should work out. I should make more calls. I should. You don't actually change. Here's what I call should all over yourself. Right? But when it's a must, when you say this must happen now, and it truly is a must, you find the way, don't you? So what made it a must? What pushed you over the edge? And then the third question is, what made it possible so it lasted? Was it a new belief? Like you suddenly believe, no, this is what I'm made for. Or was it a new strategy? You learned a tool that made it possible? Or was it a new insight? Or was it a new emotion? That's, man, once you felt that, you're never going back. So we're just going to take 3 quick minutes. I want you to jot down, sit up in your chair so you got some energy in you. And I want you to write down what was the area you had a breakthrough, you struggled with for an area, but you finally broke through. And then I want you to write down what made you change in that moment. What triggered you to finally say enough of this and change? What made it a must? And then third, what made it possible? What made it last? Was it a new belief, a new emotion, a new strategy, a new insight? Jot it down real quick. We'll put some music on and then we'll process it. What was something you struggled with, but you finally broke through and changed it? Did you stop smoking? Did you change a relationship? Shift something in your business, or your body, or with your kids? And then what made you change in that moment? What triggered you to make it a must? No more. And then what made it possible? And if you want, you can type it in the chat. I'd love to see it if you want to share with me. Nice, Pearl Samuel. Nice. Thank you, Kimberly. What made you finally change in that moment? Put it in the chat box. And what made it last? What finally made you say enough of this? Wow, 130 pounds. Nice job, Rosalie. Too much pain. That's nice. Great shares. Mary Ellen, alcoholic for 8 years, and decided you deserve better. Gave the ultimatum and made it happen. Beautiful. Congratulations. Angel says, I filed for divorce. I knew I couldn't explain why, but I knew this had to stop now. Beautiful. About another minute and a half. About a minute left. Put it in the chat if you'd like to. victor to victor, victim to victor. Nice job, Jess. New faith, a new belief, myself. Inspired by someone else who lost 75 pounds. Nice. 30 seconds. Get it down. If you had time to write down a second one, you could do it. See if you notice a pattern. John Verfurlo, wow, lost 90 pounds in 2 years. Health is wealth. I decided to do it. Step up. Nice job, brother. I turned fear on itself. Nice job. I started thinking about what life was going to be like if I didn't change. Good job. 10 seconds. All right. Create a little energy in your body, in your chair real quick. Wake it up in your chair again. Wake it up. Make a sound that makes you feel strong or happy. Come on, any sound. Let's take a couple quick samples, because here's what we want to see. Let's see if we notice some patterns here, and if you don't, I'll point them out to you. But let's just take a couple examples. So let's bring somebody up on screen. I think staff, pick somebody there. Raise your hand if you'd like to share in the Zoom rooms. We can take shares from you. We can all see you and hear you. Let's bring somebody up here real quick. Now's the time. There we go. Give her a hand. It's Christina. Christina, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Where are you in the world, Christina?
I'm just outside of Denver, Colorado.
Give her a hand in Denver, Colorado, everybody. Tell me, what was your breakthrough? What did you struggle with, and what finally made you just deal with it, and then what made it possible?
Thanks so much, Tony. So my daughter, and if I get emotional, it's because I'm so passionate about my story. My daughter passed away when she was 3 from pediatric cancer. And after she passed away for a couple of years, I was really struggling with that connection, because after the year mark, the more time that went by, the further I felt like I was getting away from her. So I took your workshop, and I had been taking a lot of personal growth workshops, but I finally connected with her through your workshop. And I know it was because of the energy, because I was in my peak state, and I heard what you had to say. And let me tell you what you said. You said, make your worst day your best day. And then I can't remember what you said after that. And I had no idea what was going to happen if I did that, but I was determined to do that. And so I relived the day my daughter died over and over. And what I came to realize was it's my greatest achievement to date. It's the day I am most proud of in my life so far. I had the courage to help my daughter die peacefully at home when I didn't think I had anything left. And she brought me that courage, and my wonderful hospice team gave me a priceless gift that I could never get anywhere else, because they gave me that moment to really just be with her and feel like a sense of achievement. It's the greatest thing I've ever done. I've been in the military 20 years, and nothing compares to the moment that I was able to help her die peacefully at my house. And I realized that day is my greatest gift. And I'm so grateful for that day. And it's really led me to a life of gratitude, and it really transformed my world. And I didn't even know what you meant by that. But when I processed it, that's what came out. And so much happened since then that I can't even explain how thankful I am. People, when I would tell my story, people would often say to me, I can't imagine anything worse than losing a child. So that's my trigger, right? And I didn't have a good answer. I didn't have any answer. I made up things. I stumbled through the answers, but nothing good. And I took your workshop and I came up with what I was going to say to the next person that said that to me. And I was going to tell them that if my oldest daughter had never come into our lives for 3 years and 17 days, that would be worse. That'd be worse than losing a child. I'll never give up. I'll never give up on the joy that I had with her. I also think what would be worse is if I didn't live my life to the fullest after she died. So that's why I'm here. I'm living my life to the fullest with my daughters. I'm enjoying every moment. I'm creating purpose, helping other people go from grief to gratitude, and they're passing on the message. And I think that's where it becomes worth it. You said to us, Tony, you said, when people hold on to pain, people will hold on to pain till they find something they value more.
More than the pain,
and I value my family and raising my daughters right now more than I value a life of pain because of my daughter.
You have a beautiful soul.
And I'm so grateful.
Christina, you inspire us all. When did you was Unleash the Power of the Wind? How many years ago was this? When did this happen?
Actually, I did it during COVID, and I was activated with the military, and I wouldn't have been able to attend anyway. But I was so grateful that you offered a virtual Unleash the Power Within. I shared all of my revelations with my military unit, and I felt so good after that. And I've continued to be part of your community, and I have an endless amount of gratitude for you and what you've brought to my life. And I've created a new purpose, and I'm really grateful. This is my daughter. Her smile is priceless to me. And I'll always think about
you have other daughters? Did I hear you have other daughters alive today?
We did. We adopted a daughter after my daughter passed away, so I have a 5 and a 7-year-old.
That's beautiful.
And I live for every moment with her, and I never think about the time I didn't get. I only think about all of the smiles that I got in those 3 years and how she's changed my life forever.
I think there's probably no one watching that hasn't had tears, or at least a deep emotion listening to, because I think any of us imagine losing our child is beyond imagination. And your courage and your faith and your ability to take control of your mind, that experience you're talking about for me was when I was feeding people years later, and I was, I showed up the first time to feed a family, and I was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. I didn't want to know I was the giver, but I wanted to see the faces of the people. I wanted to get back. And I remember there were 4 children there, but this woman who didn't speak English, and it's an experience I'll never get as long as I live. But when I left, I was crying uncontrollably. And I was like, why am I crying? It's such a beautiful experience. Because I found out this woman, after the fact, husband had left her 3 days before Thanksgiving with no money and no food. So it was like God just perfectly put me in that situation. I thought, I'm crying grace tears because I realized my worst day, my father leaving to me was the worst day of my life, was the best day. Because if he hadn't, would I really be here? Would I really care as much? So it's like life is always happening for us. It doesn't look like it often. Sometimes it looks like the worst situation, but it's our responsibility to find the good in it, and not phony good, but real good. And this child that is now your baby girl now is getting all this love as well. I can't compliment you enough. I feel privileged to meet you. I want you to come to my Date with Destiny as my guest, just because I just want to give back to you. I know you'll pass it on to others. So stay on the line with my team, and we'll make sure you come there. Give her a beautiful hand, gorgeous hand, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. After that that one, any other problem seems like a small one, doesn't it? Let's go for one or two more real quick just to have variety and see if we notice the pattern. I'll see if you notice the pattern. Let's go to the next person here. Somebody pick somebody, raise your hand. There we go. Here's somebody. It's Jason. Give it up for Jason, everybody. Jason, where are you in the world?
I'm from Hungary, Europe.
You're in Hungary, Europe. Give it up for him in Hungary, everybody. That's beautiful. Well, tell us, what was the thing that you struggled with that you finally broke through? What made you do it that moment? What pushed you over the edge? And then what made it possible to really make it last?
So, Tony, on January 2011, I left my house because I had an 18-year-old. At that time I had an 18-year-old son. And I had a lot of issues at home because of, I was not so complete in myself. I was earning so little because I worked as a teacher in Hungary and the salaries were so little. So I couldn't support my family. I was kicking myself. I was frustrated. I was not finding that joy, peace, happiness in myself. So I decided to leave and run away from the situation like a coward. And I moved into my school. And at that, leaving my family behind, my wife and my son behind. And that was a moment where I did not know what to do. I gave up everything. I was in a very hopeless situation, sitting on my bed. And that was the moment I seen one of this free session in January at that time. And those 5 days changed my life completely. I went from a hopeless situation. I found hope in your words. I always kept asking God, why is this happening to me? Why is this always happening to me? I'm unlucky. Nothing good is happening in my life. And when you said those words, that life is always happening for you and not to you. And that was the moment everything shifted. I shifted everything here and my life started shifting completely. I started... So at that moment in my life, I decided, I did not know who was Tony Robbyns, to be honest, at that moment. I was just scrolling through YouTube videos and I saw this live session. I just sat through. I was crying and I said, okay, something's going on here. Let me watch it. And I thank God that I did that because at that moment of my life, everything changed. I started thinking more than what I was a victim, honestly speaking. I used to think like a victim. I used to act like a victim. But after a 5-day session, I decided, this has to stop. This has to change right now. And that shift changed my life completely. I went from a hopeless situation. I found hope. I went from a victim mentality to a victor mentality. I moved from being an employee to an employer. Today I run 6 companies. Life
Holy cow.
With you, life will never be the same again. These were your words. And you won't believe, Tony, one more thing, that at that moment, like I told you, the salaries of teachers is peanuts, is not so much. And at that moment, all that I had, my entire saving in my bank account, I saw there was an option to join UPW virtual.
Yes.
And I said, if I join now, I won't have anything in my bank account. But I said, no matter what, I'm joining. I'm giving it my all. I don't know how I'm going to survive, what I'm going to eat tomorrow. I don't care. I'm joining it. And I registered for it. And those days changed my life completely. I came back home.
Hey, I want to hear.
I came back home. My partner opened her arms up. She's like, you know what? I see so much of change in you because,
so like you said, with your family.
Energy. Yeah. So I came back home. I felt so bad that I was acting like a victim and I ran. But because of my 18-year-old son at that time, I said, you know what? How could I do such a thing? Leave him behind. I'm his role model, and he's so attached to me. I need to be there for him. I came back. I said, no more victim mentality. I will think like a victor. I will act like a victor, and I will be victorious.
That's so awesome. That's awesome. reside with your family, and you said you have 6 companies?
Yes.
So you employ other
big
people.
As yours.
What's
so
that?
I was like, every single day of my life since then, my prayer has been one thing: God bless me with more so that I can help more people. I can impact more lives.
I wear these little hats a lot of times just because it's easy, because I sweat so much and so forth, and they have a little shamrock on there. It's not about being lucky, because it says on the side of my hats I wrote down there, it says, be a blessing. And underneath it says, and you'll be blessed. And that's what you're doing. Well, listen, brother, I'm so glad I got to hear this pattern. Listen to the pattern again here. So he hit rock bottom. He hit enough pain that he had to change, right? He felt that. That's what made it happen. And then these new beliefs, this new way of feeling, these new emotions entered his life and shifted it all. Listen, brother, I want to thank you, and I want to meet you in person. So I'll tell you what, you may or may not be able to come in person, but now all my events you can do virtually too. So I want you to come to my business mastery program. If you have those business programs, you stay on the line. We're going to give you a business mastery. I want to share with you so you can grow your businesses. Give him a beautiful hand. Jason, give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. That's incredible. Beautiful. I'm an emotional guy. Sorry, but I cry when I hear this stuff. It just touches my heart so much because I know what it means. It was gorgeous. So thank you for sharing. And let me give you a shortcut for time's sake here. I've spent my entire life where my focus is I've got to produce the breakthrough now. Somebody calls on the phone, my kid's suicidal. Somebody calls on the phone, the athlete's burning down, the president's going to be impeached. What do I do right now? In order to do that, I've basically tried to study how do you accelerate the process of breaking through, so you don't have to wait until it happens. So let me ask you a question. I think for most of you, the thing that triggered you was pain. You got to enough pain that your brain finally said, I've had enough of this relationship, or my body being this way, or my income. How many of you got so much pain you finally made a change right now? How many got that? Say aye. Some of you, that's usually about 90% of the population. We don't have to have pain to change, but people tend to get stuck otherwise in comfort. But about 10% of the people usually change because something happened that inspired them. And sometimes it's a combination of the two. But then the second question is, what made it last? And that's always a change in one of 3 things or all 3. And I want to give you the shortcut. So from now on, from this day forward, if you go, I'm tired of the way my business is, or I'm tired of the way my economics are, or I want to change how I'm being as a parent, or I want a better relationship, these are the 3 things you hone on. Now, I'm going to give you these 3 real fast, but I'm going to give you in reverse order of importance. Why? Because I want to give you in the order most people attack them, and you'll see why most people fail. If you change the order, it's like if you know somebody's phone number and you dial in the wrong order, you don't reach them. If you got a vault and you know the right code, but you put the wrong order, it doesn't work. You don't get the goodies inside. If I said to you, the dog bit Johnny, or Johnny bit the dog, it's the same words, but a very different experience if you're Johnny, right? So when you change sequence of things, it changes the results. And so the number one thing when people want to change, let's say they're tired of where they are physically, their body, or their relationship, or their mindset, they're being sad or depressed or angry, whatever. The number one thing people usually try to answer is the question of how. So they look for a strategy. And that makes common sense, right? I need a better strategy to get this result. Now, I'm a strategist. I've spent my entire life, I don't believe in just rah-rah BS, because in the end, that's nice. You need energy, but you need a strategy to actually make it work. And the wrong strategy is it doesn't matter how enthusiastic you are. If your goal is to see a sunset, I'll give you a simple, silly metaphor. Your goal is to see a sunset, and you're totally positive you start running east looking for the sunset. I don't give a damn how positive you are. It's not going to work. And there are strategies in life or in business that could save you a decade. I've learned them. So I know how valuable strategy is, but you don't want to start with strategy. And there's a good reason. Because as important as strategy is, if the other 2 things aren't in place first, you'll try it. Have you ever said, people say, oh, I've already tried that, it didn't work. Oh, really? And what state of mind? How often? What did you change? What did you shift? How did you do it? People generalize, they give it a try. That'll never get the results that you want. For example, most of America, let's use America, we've got 195 countries in this room, and a lot of countries are modeling America, unfortunately, in this area. It's the highest amount of excess weight that's ever been seen in history. It's over 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. It's insane. Now, why is that? Is it because the goal or the strategy or the desire of being fit and healthy is just only the 1% know it? Or it's so expensive to be able to be fit and healthy? Or, it's so incredibly complex that no one can figure it out? Hell no. Or it's so scarce. The knowledge is so scarce. No. If I said to you right now, you told me I want to lose weight, or you want to get fit, how far would you have to go to get help? Most people, there's within a few miles of your home, there's a workout facility or YMCA or something. If not that, you can download onto your phone right now or your iPad 20 books. You can probably go online and get free courses. There's a million ways to do it. There's not one. There's so many ways, and it's available to everybody. Then why are most people overweight? Because it's not a strategy problem for most people. Get that. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we have the wrong strategy. You're running east looking for a sunset, and you're like, why isn't this working? I remember, I don't know how many years ago, it was probably 12, 15 years ago, the cover of Time magazine was the Atkins diet. Anybody remember the Atkins diet? And it said that, I forget the number, I think it said 12% or 15% of Americans are on this diet. It was like the largest number of any diet that ever been done. And I thought to myself, what are these people doing? Because if you did that diet, you had to pee on a stick because you had so much acidosis to try and balance it. And your breath was so bad, no one could get near you. What made you think this was a sustainable solution, right? You lose weight, yes, because you got someone asked you to pee and get rid of all your weight and you lower your calories, you lose weight with anything. But it's not sustainable. You follow me? So strategy sometimes is the problem. Don't get me wrong. The right strategy get where you want to go, but you don't want to start there. And I'll tell you why. When you've never accomplished something before, like you've always been overweight, or you've always been broke, or you've been through multiple relationships and it's not worked out, you start saying what he said a few minutes ago. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Everything happens bad to me. Nothing goes my way. And once you believe that, it's self-fulfilling. You're not going to change because the beliefs control everything. So the strategy, most people are trying to figure out how, and you can figure out the how, but you don't want to start with how. Write this down if you would. You don't want to fall in the trap of the tyranny of how. The tyranny of how. Because when people are going to get results, they do it because they feel certain and they give their all. When you've not done something before and you're uncertain, or you've lost weight and gained it back, or been through bad relationships, or had a business and it didn't work, or whatever, what happens is we're afraid of failure. And so we don't have the same certainty because we're afraid, and we've never done it successfully. We don't have any history. So the brain goes, okay, I'm going to go lose 20 pounds. I'm going to go make $100,000, $1 billion. I'm going to create this great relationship. And it goes in your brain, and then your brain goes, who are you kidding? How many of you have ever set a goal out loud to somebody, and then afterwards your brain went, who are you kidding? Come on, put it in the chat box if you've done that. Who's done this before, right? So it didn't get into your subconscious where you actually follow through. And so if you think about the greatest leaders in history, if you think of a Martin Luther King, when he gave I Have a Dream, his speech, he didn't know how to solve the problem. He just knew what was important and why. And he believed it with his soul. And by the way, he didn't know how, but not that many decades later, we had President Obama, whether you liked him or not, he broke that color barrier 8 years as president of the United States and was voted mostly by white people. So the world changed, not as fast as everybody wanted to, and there's still plenty to be improved. But it does change, but it doesn't always change by having the how first. It's what and why is first. When John F. Kennedy got up and said, by the end of this decade, we're going to put a man on the moon and return him to the earth, the people at NASA went, there's no way, we don't have the tools. He said, I don't care, this is what we're going to do. That's what makes you a leader. You don't have to know how first, you can get the how. But here's what you do need. You need something more than strategy. You need the right story. When I say story, all a story is an accumulation of beliefs. If you are not succeeding, you had a story. So that last gentleman, if you listen, had a story. And the story that he had was, I'm not worth anything. Life doesn't go my way. He had several phrases like that. How many heard him when he sang it, right? And then his story changed. He could have changed any time, but his story changed to no, I must change now because the pain was too great. I have to find a way. And then he went to the event and he got a whole new set of beliefs, a whole new story he built. That no, the fact that life hasn't gone my way is a challenge of life for me to grow. It's why it happened. It's not that I'm being punished. It's I need to grow. If there's any area of your life, please hear me. If there's any area of your life where you still have pain, I want you to be able to be free of it, but I can only tell you this. You'll hang on to your pain until you find something you value more than your pain, as the First Lady described with her daughter. She decided that it wouldn't honor her daughter to live in pain and decided to not be grateful for those 3 years would be insane. She decided, I'm going to continue to love the children in my life and still love my daughter. I'm not going to live in pain and give up my life. I value something more than my pain. Most people value their pain most of all. That's why they stay stuck with it. And they build a story around their pain. When someone doesn't lose weight, what's the number one reason they'll tell you? They'll give you a story. What do they say? I've tried what, guys? Put in the chat box. I've tried what? I've tried what? Come on, put it in the chat box. I tried, that's right, everything. Right? No, you haven't tried everything. Have you tried everything? Really? Yes, I've tried millions of ways. Millions? Well, I've tried thousands. Thousands? Well, I'm sure I've tried hundreds. Hundreds? Well, I did do these 2 stupid things that don't work over and over again. That was their idea of tried everything. If you tried everything, you'd be fit and healthy. How many agree with me on this? Make some noise if you agree, ladies and gentlemen. Right? So you have to write down, change your story, change your life. See, that's what happened to both those people if you listened. They both had an event that was so painful, and then they got sick of the pain. They hit a threshold, no more. And the only reason they changed is they got a new story, a new set of beliefs about their life. I'm not the victim anymore. Remember, he was the victim leaving his son. And all of a sudden, no, I'm the victor. I need to come back to my family. I need to build. I need to find the way through. The fact things haven't gone my way is evidence that I've got answers. I just haven't come up with them yet. Pain stays until... How many have done this? How many of you have had an event in your life that was so painful you'd never want to go through it again, ever? You never want anybody you care about to go through it. But 5 or 10 years afterwards, you look back and go, I never want to go through it again. But I'm grateful to the God or the universe that it happened because it made me so much stronger or it made me care so much more. Who can relate to this that it made you more? You found out what it is. So that's why I don't believe, I know life is always happening for me, not to me, but I've got to find it. That's my job. That's not God's job. That's not the universe's job. That's mine. So if you come up with a different story, if you don't have a great relationship, what do people say? All the good ones are gone, or they're gay and I'm not, or I'm gay and they're not, or I'm non-binary and they're not, or come on. There's almost 8 billion people in this world. There's people out there that you could have the most beautiful relationship with, but your story is because you had so much pain, you don't want to go through it again, so you create a blockage, a story, a set of beliefs that limits you. If you shift that, everything shifts. But once you believe your story, you're stuck. I'll give you an example, a simple example, one you wouldn't even probably relate to. As a kid, maybe you're sitting at the table for dinner and your mom or dad says, and you're really hungry and just starting to eat, and they say, could you get me the salt? And you think to yourself, I'm hungry, I don't want to do this. So what do you say? So, I don't know where the salt is. I don't know where the salt is. You're not lying. You don't know the exact GPS location of the salt. And your mother and father, not putting up with that crap for you. They go, you know where it is. Go, get in the kitchen, get me the salt. And so you get up and I don't know where the salt is. I don't know where the salt is. In your head, I don't know where the salt is. I don't know. They open the cupboards, look around. I don't know. It's not here. And your parents yell back, it's on the second shelf. And you're going, I don't know what the salt is. I don't know what the salt is. You look, you go, it's not here. They walk right beside you. They reach right in front of your face and they go, what is this? Who's had one of these experiences? Make some noise if you've had one of these experiences. Your eyes saw the salt, but your brain would not allow you to perceive it because you kept telling yourself a story over and over again till you created in psychology what we call a scotoma, a blind spot. It's right there in front of you. Have you ever tried to help a friend and they have a problem, you got the answer, you show it to them and they're like, no, that won't work, I've tried everything. It's because of their story. Divorce your story of limitation and marry the truth that you have unlimited possibilities if you're committed and step up and are willing to do the difficult things. And make it, divorce the story. Don't do like some people's divorce where you go hang out with that person again. This is you divorce this limiting belief, right? I'll give you an example. Sit up in your chair and let's try something. This may not work because you're in a room you know really well, but I want you to try something. Look around around the room right now, wherever you are, and notice everything that's brown, even things you might not normally notice that are brown. Look around you, everywhere, anything that's brown, notice it's brown. Look behind you, look around you. Okay, please close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, tell me everything you just saw that was red. Now, if you're seeing a lot more brown than red, say yes for those out there. Good. Now open your eyes. Everyone open your eyes and look for red. Look for red. Anywhere you can find red, look for red. Look for red. Look for red. Look for red. Give me a thumbs up in the chat box, or raise your hand, say yes if you found a lot more red now, this second time. Come on, let me hear you out there, ladies and gentlemen. So here's my question. Why did you find more red? Because seek and ye shall find, it says in a very good book called The Good Book, right? So it's like whatever we look for, we're going to find. We'll even find stuff that's not there. I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. Once you believe something, once you lock into something, how many of you saw beige colored things, called it brown just to feel successful? Come on, make some noise if you did it. How many saw burgundy, called it red just so you could feel more successful longer on your list, right? So if you start believing the story, there's something wrong with me, you're going to find things that are wrong with you even if they're not. If you think somebody's horrible, you're going to find horrible things in them, even if they're not. If you believe someone's your friend and they treat you badly, you're going to rationalize they're having a bad day, and you'll find how they're still your good friend, won't you? So our beliefs, our story, are the glue that either holds us in place of limitation or holds us in place so we can go for progress. Because you're not going to implement the story if you believe all the good ones are gone, or I've tried everything. You follow me? Or I'm just not made for this. So what I do in all my seminars, every seminar I do has a section where we shift your beliefs. We find the most limiting beliefs and we annihilate them. I say annihilate them so they're no longer in your body. They're not intellectual. How many of you have some beliefs that intellectually you know better, but emotionally they get you at times? Who can relate to this? Make some noise when you relate to this, right? So you got to break that pattern. And then finally, the order really needs to start with the other S, the first one, which is state. See, your mental emotional state controls everything. The reason we do a little clapping, a little moving, and I'm doing this right now and I've got little small screens. When we do the seminar, I have 25,000 square feet. We've literally got 20-foot high LED walls. I can see everybody in the world, all of you huge. I can see your name, I see your kids, I see what's going on. So here I can just see the people that are in Zoom. I can't see you guys at home there doing YouTube or Facebook, but I got enough of you to see what's really going on. But what we're doing is changing state. You move, you breathe, you shift everything. Now, and I'll give you an example when I say state. Have you ever gotten pissed off at somebody, really mad at somebody? And then as you get pissed off of them, you can suddenly remember everything they've ever done that's pissed you off? Who knows what I'm talking about? Make some noise out there. Give me some thumbs up on the wall there, right? But look at the opposite. You ever fallen head over heels in love? Who's ever fallen head over heels in love? Come on. Oh, it's got to be more people than that. Do me a favor, just for a moment. I'm going to ask you at different times during this week, do some funny things. And one of them is I'll ask you to make certain sounds and, just instinctively make the sound. And the reason is it causes you to use a different part of your brain, a deeper part of your brain where beliefs get stored. So right now, I want you just for fun, make the sound you'd be making if you're totally head over heels in love. Nice and loud. Go ahead. Head over heels in love. Come on, go for it. There you go. Now, for some of you, it's obviously been a long time based on that reaction. So let's add love and lust, love and excitement, love and passion. This time, really give it your all. Make the sound and celebrate love and passion. Come on. So here's my question. When you're really in love with somebody, what will you do for them? What will you do for them? Come on, tell me. Put it in the chat box. Yeah, that's right. Everything, anything, right? If somebody who totally head over heels in love says, would you take out the trash? We go, take out the trash. Here you go. I'm happy to do it. What else can I do for you? Right? And then, but what happens after about 7 days or 7 weeks or 7 months or 7 years or 70 years, somewhere between 7 days and 70 years, they go, could you take out the trash? You go, what do I look like, your janitor? I don't know what happened. We used to be so close. We used to have so much passion. Right? So what you have to understand is your state affects your story, doesn't it? When you're in love, what's wrong with the world? We have no money, but we're in love. It's okay. Right? Isn't it true? Who knows what I'm talking about here? Come on, who knows what I'm talking about? So your mental emotional state is the most powerful thing in your life, and most of us let it be programmed by the external world. In fact, most of it's being programmed by the news or social media news. It follows you. Now, most of us know these people in the news and media, they're not bad people. They're good people. They're doing their job. What's their job? Get your attention. They get paid to get your attention. And one thing gets your attention more than anything else, upsetting things. Things that make you angry or sad or fearful. That's why in journalism, it's always been said, if it bleeds, it leads. There's millions of beautiful things happening, but you never notice because we don't experience life. We experience the life we focus on. If you're really pissed off, you're focused on the things that upset you, and you're forgetting all the things you could be grateful for, like this beautiful woman did with her daughter. And if you're really happy, you're deleting all the things you could be pissed off about and focusing on what matters. You don't experience life. We don't. We experience the life we focus on. But your focus is affected by your state, which then creates a story that controls your focus. And then the strategy is not going to work if your state and your story are negative. You're not going to find it if they're saying it's impossible or it never has worked, it never does. It's all self-fulfilling. You're looking for brown, you find it everywhere. You color things brown that aren't brown. How many follow what I'm talking about here? If this makes sense to you, make some noise so I know you got it up there. Good. So think of state as the most important thing of all. And here's what you need to know. Your mental emotional state can be changed so easily, but most of us don't know it. Most of you turn on certain music. That's one way to change state. Some people eat to change state. Unfortunately, that has side effects, especially if you eat the wrong things. That's what a lot of people do. They're emotional, they eat, right? What other ways do people change their state? They change their focus to change their state. They go shopping or do something, right? But you can also change your state in ways that don't have a downside, smoking, drinking, etc. You can do it just by movement. In fact, I've been teaching for 45 years, this blows my mind, that changing your body, called physiology, the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you use your voice, instantly changes biochemistry. Stanford just did the study and showed it again. But it's been about 6 years, I think Harvard did a study and proved what I've been sharing with people scientifically for years. Theirs was just on power postures, they called it. Power postures were, let me show you. If you stand up, let's try something just for a moment. Stand up if you would. And I'll show you something. They found that if you stand like Wonder Woman or Superman, with your hands are right here on your hips, your shoulders are back, you're breathing fully, right, your head's up, and you do this just for 2 minutes like this is what happens. Whether you're a man or woman doesn't matter. Your testosterone increases 20% in your bloodstream. Now that gives you drive. The stress hormone, which is called cortisol, drops 25% after 2 minutes of doing this. And your risk tolerance, your willingness to take the risk, is increased by 33%. Now, I don't teach people to stand here, with their shoulders back and do this. By the way, you can do the same thing. The guy who's obnoxious in the meeting, who's got his legs back, his arms back like this, will produce the same biochemistry, by the way. So you can sit down. But what I do is I use movement and your voice. See, the way you move with voice is more dynamic than just the still movement. But they prove that 2 minutes of that alone will change your biochemistry. So when we move, we dance, we clap, we use our voice, that changes a profound change. And again, I'll walk you through this when we walk through a little bit the Stanford study and why a year after the program, a year after Unleash the Power Within, these people's lives are still changed so radically. Because biochemically, you're rewired differently, not by taking a drug, by directly wiring yourself. So your state can be changed by movement, by voice. By the way, what does a person who's depressed look like? If I said to you, I'm going to give you a $100,000 donation to your favorite charity, and there's a person who's depressed behind curtain number 1, if you can describe their way they're being physically, I'll give you the money. I bet you could do it. If they're depressed, tell me, where are their shoulders? Put it in the chat box. If somebody's really depressed, where are their shoulders? And those on camera, show me, where are their shoulders? That's right, they're forward. Is their head up or down a bit? That's right, it's down. In the chat box, are they breathing full or shallow? Absolutely shallow. Are they talking loud or more quiet? Quiet. And are they talking faster or slower? Slower. How do you know this? Because you've practiced this shit at some point, haven't you? Come on. But if you take that same person and you change the way they move, the way they breathe, they use their voice, you instantly change their biochemistry. And now in a new state, you have a different story about life. And now, if I didn't have the strategy, if you don't have the strategy, you'll find it or you'll make one. How many follow this? Say aye. So for the rest of your life, this is what I want you to get. For the rest of your life, if you want to accelerate the pace at which you achieve something or you create a breakthrough, first, you got to get leverage to say, this is happening now. And then all you got to do is put yourself in the right state. That's why it happens now. You know, she said, the first young lady said that she was there and she had this energy in her body. Well, that's what we were doing in the seminar. And she made the decision from there. If I made the decision from here, it's not going to happen. It's like if you have the perfect dough or pie or whatever it is, and you put it in the oven and it's supposed to be at 625 and you put it at 25 degrees, you're going to get mush. And that's what people do with their lives. This is 25 degrees. Okay, yeah, right, I know. I've tried that stuff. It doesn't work. Versus, we're doing this right now. And so you got to train that into your nervous system. That's what I do. And that's what we're going to do if you're willing to. A couple hours a day, we'll do this a little bit in and out, not obnoxiously. I mean, my biggest challenge is my shortest thing I do is 50 hours. It's usually the shortest day is 12 hours. And we're trying to do it here in 2 hours and some change on today. So if this makes sense to you, if you say, man, I want to change my body, I want to change my emotion, I'm going to start with my state, I'm going to come up with a better story, then I'll get the strategy. If that makes sense to you and you're going to use this, say I. Say I. Awesome. Now I want to give you one last tool before we go. And this is really simple but valuable. And it's experiential. Because some things, I like to do things where you're not just writing notes, but you feel it. So most of you, who's ever gotten stuck? And you might be stuck right now with something. In some areas of your life are great. Who's ever gotten really stuck? Right? When we get stuck and not able to turn things around, it's not that we're not capable of turning it around. It's just that we get stuck using only a part of ourselves. And so I'm gonna have you try something kind of interesting. And you got to be willing to experiment with me. And if you do it playfully, you'll have a blast and it'll really work. But I'm going to give you 4 archetypes, 4 ways of being that are inside of you. No, there's more than 4. My wife, I think she got 167. I got different names. I got Sage. I got Bonnie Pearl. Like, I know in the beginning, I'm like, who am I talking to? She changed personalities on me here all of a sudden, right? And I've got some names I won't tell you that are my private names for her, right? But anyway, my point is we all have more than one personality, but when you use one, you get stuck. It'll work in some situations, but not others. So let me give you a practical example. I work with a lot of athletes. So a little over 3 years ago, 3 years ago, January, I was working, with an athlete who's pretty famous, and he's part of the UFC, and it's Conor McGregor. And Conor had not fought for a year. He had lost to a previous opponent, and there was really bad blood between them, really bad blood. And he was really angry. And his team called me up and said, Conor's in good physical shape, but we're just concerned. He's got so much anger still, and he's using up all his energy doing that. And he's got this big fight. The guy he's going to fight, his name was Cowboy. This was 3 years ago, January. He said, Cowboy's got all kinds of records. And, he loses this too. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think he will, but we'd love to have you help. So I got to meet Conor. And Conor, if you ever remember Muhammad Ali, if you're old enough to remember him, he put on a show, and Conor puts on a show, a personality. But behind the scenes, he's really a beautiful man. He's a major contributor to all kinds of people's lives. But, if he drank too much alcohol, like most people, he could be a little crazy. And so he decided, no alcohol, I'm going on full tilt, I'm going to win this fight. He was really committed. And so one of the things I did with him, I sat down, I listened for a while, and I said, Conor, I give several things with him, I'll just give you one thing. I said, I've noticed there's a pattern. Your rage and your anger can be useful and can be channeled, but it is so dominant, you're missing other parts of yourself. And I said, so I'd like to try something with you that seems a little weird. So maybe you want to get rid of everybody so you can feel like it's in private. And we're going to do the same thing. And what I had him do is this, I'll tell you, because it's what we're going to do. I had him stand up, and I said to him, here's what we're going to do. I said, I'm going to have you think of a particular part of yourself. And I'm going to ask you just instinctively touch where that part of yourself lives. I know it sounds weird. And then I'm going to ask you to make the sound of that. And I'm asking you to not think, just instinctively do it from the very beginning. And I said, would you be willing to do this? I said, because what you're going to find is there's other parts of yourself that are not being used in your battle, and that's why you're not getting the results you used to get. And so he was really wonderful. We spent enough time. He was open to it. Everybody else leaves, so you have privacy, and we stood up. And I said, so the first part of your personality for all of you is the warrior, if you want to jot that down, the warrior part of your personality. And the warrior is the part of you that will not be stopped. The warrior will push through the pain. It'll push through the challenges. It'll find the way no matter what. It will not give up. How many of you have had that awakened in you by a situation, maybe especially if somebody messed with your family, mamas out there? How many have had that time where it's like you got so strong? Who knows what I'm talking about here, right? I love seeing these mamas that won't put up with us anymore with their kids being taken care of. You see a little mama and she's on fire. She's as strong as any UFC. Why? Because the warrior gets awakened if you start challenging my family, right? You try to hurt somebody I love, as an example. So I said, the warrior, this unstoppable person that'll push through anything, that won't be limited, that will break through anything. I said, where does that person live in you? And I said, just scan your body where, and for him, it was here. He goes, right here, right here. I said, great. Now, this seems a little weird, but I'd like you to please do it and just don't think. I said, I want you to make the sound of the warrior. And his first attempt at that was kind of feeble, and I was like, that's pretty pathetic. And then he made this roar sound that was so intense. So it acted, you understand what's happening? The sound in his body activated. He's touching the point where it lives, and he's activated it with sound very intensely. I had to do it 3 or 4 times. So it's really there. And then I said to him, I want you to say this. The warrior says, Connor, all you need to remember, all you need to focus on, all you need to do is what? I don't want you to think. I just want you to come from that part of yourself, and I want you to finish this phrase. You're going to say, the warrior says, and you'll say your name. He says, Connor, all you need to remember, all you need to do, all you need to focus on is what? And then he told me an answer. I said, let's do it again. What else does the warrior say? It's all you need to remember, all you need to do. And then a couple times I made him come back, make the sound, so he stayed in the warrior. Because if you get in your head, then you're thinking. It's not the same. So I got him in a spot, and then boom, he got all these great lessons. And I said, now, my guess is your warrior's overworked, that you've used your warrior exclusively, because you used to be known as Mystic Mac. Connor was known as Mystic Mac. He had this ability to almost like read the mind of an opponent. Like he knew where the next punch was coming from. And because he knew, he could anticipate. That's what made him so amazing. But I said, there's not been much Mystic Mac. But here's where that is inside you. There's a magician in you. That's the second part of your personality to jot down, a magician. The magician is not stressed because the magician knows it's all perception. It's all a story, and it can change like that. The magician knows with a few words, a change in focus, it all changes. The magician knows they can turn a frog into a prince into a frog by saying and doing the same incantation over and over again. They have a smile. There's a humor in the magician. They're humorized by things that other people are all stressed by. Unlike the warrior who's going to push through, the magician will find the answer and just make it happen. And when I told him about that, I said, where does the magician live? He touched his face, and he had this huge smile that you've probably seen him do when he acts like crazy and devious. He goes, that's my magician. I said, okay. So just touch that, and as you're doing it, make the sound of the magician. And he made this kind of sound. It's a totally different sound. Yeah. And he started to laugh. I said, no, whatever first guess is, he made the sound, right? And I had him keep doing it several times so he was in the magician. Then I said, now we're going to ask the magician. In this fight, Connor, the magician says, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all you need to do is what? And he was in a totally different state. The voice was different. And I'm writing this down. I had a little recorder. And sure enough, wrote it all down. And what else does he say? Put him back in state. What else? And we got about a dozen. And the answers were completely different. The magician said, the warrior's strong. The warrior, we need the warrior, but I will help you find the opening. We will find the answer. There's never need to panic. All these great jewels, different beliefs, different story. Notice the warrior has a different story than the magician. How many see this? Raise your hand if this makes sense to you, right? Make sense? And the warrior is a different state than the magician. They're both valuable. But if you only do one thing over and over again, you get stuck. Sometimes the magician's overworked, you need more warrior. In his case, it was the opposite. I said, now the third, let's have you all jot it down, is the archetype of the lover. And I said, the lover is all about love, loving who they're with, loving what they're doing, loving their life, loving every aspect of it, feeling the sense of joy and gratitude and connection and energy. Love is an energy, it's an attraction. So when you love it, I said, so where's the lover in you? And he grabs his heart at that point with both hands. And I said, okay, breathe into the lever. Breathe in that spot. Okay, make the sound lever. And the toughest guy in the world makes this beautiful sound. Do it again, do it again. Now he's in a totally different state. And I said, okay, Connor, say it out loud. Say, the lever says, Connor, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? And he gave an answer, and then another, and then what else? Go back, feel it again, make the sound again. We kept doing it. Give me another answer, another. And some of the answers were, you used to love what you do. You used to love being with your team. You used to love this sport. You used to love to fight. Now you're angry all the time and you've lost the joy. It was beautiful. He got literally a little verge of a tear. And he goes, yeah, that's why I'm in it. Fighting has it got me out of the toughest situations. I've been able to do the most beautiful things. I've been able to contribute to other people. I've done well. And I love my people and I love the fight. And just everything about him changed. And so we have one more, fourth one. And that is the sovereign, the king or the queen within you. You can call it the sovereign, the king, or the queen, depending on what appeals to you. But it's the wise one that has been through the battles and is not fearful. The king or queen is about service. You don't become king by demanding people call you king or I'm a queen. You are the king and the queen simply because you're a servant. You know, the word hero in Latin comes from servo, which means servant. The hero is the person who serves others. And when you become the king or the queen, or you tap into the king and queen that's in you, there's a different level of wisdom. You know that you could lose the battle, but you know you're going to win the war. You know that everything is temporary, that long term, it'll all work out. You know that you're guided. You know what to do. You know there's strategies. So where does the king or the sovereign live in you, or the queen? In this case, the king. He showed me where he made the sound. Same question. What does the king says? Connor, all you need to remember, all you need to focus on. It was a totally different state, totally different answers. Now we have all these answers, and he's opened up parts of his brain. Raise your hand if this makes sense to you. Like all these parts are available. And then we practice saying, okay, what does the warrior say to the king now? What does the king say to the warrior? It was fascinating because now he's in kind of a little trance state. Okay, what does the magician say to the warrior? What does the magician say to the king? And we wrapped it all up, and at the end, there was this integration. So I showed up for the fight the next night, 15 minutes before. We got him in state in all these parts, and he went out. And the first 30 seconds of the fight, it looked like Cowboy. He beat him to the punch, and like, oh my God. And sure enough, in that moment of what should have been defeat, he found an opening. He saw something instinctively. That mystic Mac magician saw it, and he hudbutted this guy and then punched him. The fight was over in less than a minute. He won the fight, blew it away, went from look like the jaws of failure to victory that fast. And afterwards, you know, it was beautiful. He invited me in the octagon with his victory. We had a great time together. But the best part of it was, he's like, the magician, my magician came back out. He goes, and I was there loving it. And my favorite part of the whole thing is, he wins the fight. Normally this would be an ego moment, right? He literally walked over and he gave Cowboy a hug. And he said, man, you've got records I don't have in this league. I just want you to know I honor you. That's one, even though it was a short fight, one hell of a fight. And then he went over to Cowboy's grandmother, who'd raised Cowboy like his mother, and said, I really honor you, Cowboy's amazing. And in the interview afterwards, the thing I was most proud of Connor was, he talked about, look, Cowboy's got some records I still don't have. I mean, I really honor the man, but I'm grateful I got to win. It was beautiful. He won the fight because he used all the parts of himself. You get caught in the anger, you're only going to use one part of yourself. How many find this intriguing? I'm curious if you find this intriguing. Great, then let's do this. Stand up wherever you are in the world, and we're just real quick, I'm going to take you through this, and shake out your body just for a second. Shake out your body, in fact, just for a second so there's more energy. Point at somebody on the screen and go, I own you, baby. No, I own you. No, I own you. On three, wake your body up. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Come on. stand nice and tall wherever you are in the world. Get out of your chair, shake your body out, breathe nice and deep. And then I want you to think about a warrior in you. Whether you're man or woman, doesn't matter. We all have a warrior. If it's needed, it's there. Let's bring it out for a moment. The warrior is the unstoppable part of you, the part that won't give up, the part that will find a way, the part that maybe have got you to sign up for this class and said, I don't care what you're feeling, we're going to do it anyway, right? There's a warrior in you. Just kind of scan your body. Where does the warrior live? And then touch that part of you, wherever it is. Touch that part, keep your hand there, wherever your warrior is. That's it. Good, good, good. Different for everybody. Good. Now, touch that area, and I know that sounds weird. I want you to just unleash a sound of the warrior. Just don't even think about it. Make the sound of the unbeatable, undefeatable warrior. Touch that spot, make the sound. Go. Make the sound now. That's it. Go for it. Full tilt. Do it again. Make it louder. Get the warrior out loud. That's it. The warrior. That's it. The warrior. One more time. The warrior sound. That's it. That's it. Now keep touching that. Keep feeling that state. And I want you first to think about something. This is how we're going to use this. What's something you want to deal with in your life? What's something that needs to be handled that you've been putting off? Is there some unfinished business someplace in your life? Or you need to tell somebody something, you need to end something, or you need to begin something. Or you need to start something new, but you haven't done it. You know you need to change it, but you haven't done it. Something's been holding you back. How many got some area of your life where you need to make a change or an improvement or something's holding you back or unfinished business? Great. Then we ask for advice. It'll be about that situation, okay? That situation. So once again, touch your warrior, wherever the warrior is in you. Make the sound of the warrior again, nice and loud as you can. Go, the sound of the warrior. The sound of the warrior. Make the sound of the warrior. The sound of the warrior. That's it, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. That's it, that's it, that's it. That's it, that's it, that's it. All right? Keep touching that area, feeling that now, and say this out loud. Say this out loud. The warrior says, and then say your first name. The warrior says, your name, all you need to remember, all you need to focus on, all you need to do in that situation is, and say what first comes to your mind. So touch the area, feel the warrior, and go, the warrior says, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I need to do in that situation is what? And just get that first answer. That's it. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. And then touch it again. Make the sound real fast. Make the sound of the warrior real fast. Make the sound of the warrior. Okay? Keep feeling it. And then let the warrior tell you something else as well. The warrior says, in that situation, all I need to do, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember is what? If you want, you can write it down real fast. Stay standing though. Or you can remember and do it later. All right? Let's do one more. Touch it. Touch where the warrior is. Make the sound of the warrior just for 10 seconds. Go. Make the sound. Make the sound. Okay? That's it. Touch it. Feel it. Finish the sentence. The warrior also says, all I need to remember. Something else that's going to tell me. All I need to remember. All I need to focus on. All I need to really do is what in that situation? And get that answer. It's got the answer. The warrior says. You can write it down, or you can remember it and write it down afterwards. Go ahead and jot it down if you want. The warrior says. What does the warrior say? That's it. It knows. Okay, now we could go deeper. And by the way, if you want to do this later on your own, I'm just going to be tight on time because I'm a little bit over. I want to get completed here, but I don't want you to miss out. There's an application called Otter, O-T-T-E-R. I recommend it. I don't have any investment in the company. It is better than Siri. Its translation is unbelievable. You can turn that on and do this, and you have a transcript right in front of you of what you said. So later on you can do it, but right now just capture it. Okay, shake your body out. Shake it out of that state, totally out of that state. And now we're going to do, where's the magician? That's a totally different state. The magician is playful. The magician is wise. The magician sees what nobody else sees. The magician doesn't get stressed. The magician knows it's all a story. The magician often is in a playful state. The magician knows change happens in a moment. It can happen in any moment. It could change it all, even if it's been stuck for years. The magician sees what other people don't see. The magician has insight. The magician can turn a frog into a prince or a prince into a frog, and he knows it. Where would the magician in you be? Just scan your body, and then wherever that is, touch that part of you. Where's your magician for you? Where's your magician? And touch that area, and then make the sound of the magician. It's a very different sound than the warrior. Just trust your instincts. What's the sound of the magician? Go ahead and make it. Make the sound of the magician. That's it. Make the sound. That's it. Make the sound. Do it again. Make the sound. Feel the magician. That's it. He's got a smile inside him, the magician. He knows. He can find. She knows. She's got the answers. Good. Now, as you touch that area, I want you to say, think about that situation you've not been dealing with. You need to change. The magician says, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all I need to do is what? And give your answer the first one that comes from the magician. Stay in state. Maybe make the sound of the magician one more time. Make the sound one more time. That's it? Good, and then do it again. The magician says, all you need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what in that situation? That's it. One more. Touch that spot, make the sound of the magician real quick, make that sound. That's it, make that sound. And then, okay, the magician says, say it out loud, the magician says, all I need to remember in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? Write down what the magician said just to capture it real quick. 2 or 3 things the magician has told you. Just write it down real fast, stay standing. You can put it in the chat, some of you are, I see that, it's beautiful. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Just jot it down real quick just to capture it for a moment. I know you can write down more later, and you can come back to this now that you know how to do this. All right, let's go to the lover. Shake your body out of the magician state, out of the warrior state. Where's the lover in you? Where's the one that loves life, that loves who you're with, your friends, your family, that loves the opportunity to grow, to change? Love, that lover in you. The one that appreciates, the one that's grateful, the one that wants to give, not just take. Where does the lover live inside you? Scan your body and then touch where the lover lives, wherever that is for you. And breathe deep into that part of your body where the lover lives. The lover's understanding. Some of you need the lover for you. You've loved others, but not yourself. Feel that lover. And make the sound of your lover right now. Just instinctively make whatever sound comes out. Don't care how it sounds. Make the sound of the lover. Make it out loud, though, not in your head. Do it again, a little louder. Make the sound of the lover, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Do it again. Make the sound of the lover. Feels so good. The sound of the lover. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, as you're touching that spot, making that sound, finish the sentence about that situation to deal with. Say, the lover says, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all I need to do is what? The lover says, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all I need to do is what? Touch the lover part of you again. Make the sound of the lover again. Make the sound of the lover again. Make it a little stronger. Enjoy it. And then ask it again. Say it out loud. Don't hesitate. The lover says, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I really need to do in that situation is what? Touch the lover again. Feel the lover in you. All I need to remember in that situation, the lover says, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? And your lover has different answers than the warrior, doesn't it? And different than the magician. Jot down what your lover said. Jot down some of the things that came to you from your lover real quick while you're still standing. Just to capture them real quick. That's it. Different answers from the lover. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for putting in the chat box. So many of you are putting what your lover said to you. That's gorgeous. Believe in who you are. Feel God's love. Your love forever. Love who I am. And find that love in others. This is beautiful. All right, you got a couple of those down real quick? You can expand that later as well. All right, let's do our final one, the sovereign, the king or the queen. So what I'd like you to do is, the king or the queen, the sovereign is the part of you that knows that no matter how difficult it looks on the outside, Nothing is permanent, certainly no problem, no pandemic, no war, no problem in your business, no problem in a relationship. The only thing that's permanent is your soul. That what if problems were just there to make our souls grow, to become more? The king, the queen, the sovereign knows that you'll find the way. And they're not pushing like the warrior, fighting. They're not even just turning at the magician. They just know. They have the wisdom. They have experience beyond their years. The higher level, it's your higher consciousness, not the lower fearful one. It's the faith-filled one that knows, the certainty. Search your body, and where does the king or queen, where does the sovereign live for you? And touch the spot where the sovereign lives for you, wherever that is for you. Touch that part, whatever it is. And then make the sound of your king or your queen, of your sovereign. Make the sound of it. Go ahead, nice and loud. Go ahead, make the sound. Make the sound. That's it, make the sound. Do it even stronger, the king or queen within you, make the sound. That's it, that's beautiful. Feel it, that's it. Again, make the sound of your king or queen, the sound of your sovereign that knows, that has no fear. That's it, feel that, feel that. Feel the strength of your sovereign, the strength of your king or queen, the power of them inside, the knowingness. And now, feel that part of you. And finish this thought. Say, the king or queen, the sovereign says, all I need to remember in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? An answer from the sovereign, from the king or queen, not from your head, from the sovereign. What would they say? Just don't even think, just do it. The sovereign says, the king says, the queen says, all I need to focus on in that situation, all I need to do, all I need to remember is what? And ask it again, what else, sovereign? What else, king or queen? What else? The sovereign says, the king, queen says, all I need to remember, all I need to do in that situation, all I need to focus on is what? It's just say out loud what it says. Don't hesitate. Don't think. Do it one more time. Feel your sovereign. Make the sound of your sovereign, your king or queen. Touch that spot. Feel it alive. That's it. And now, finish the sentence. The king, the queen, the sovereign says, all I need to remember in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I really need to do is what? And then jot down while you're standing what your sovereign has said, real quick. What does your sovereign, your king or queen say? What do you need to remember? It's different usually. Different than what you've heard from anything else. That's right. That's right. Feel it. Feel it. Good, good, good. Good. Awesome. Jot them down. How many got different answers from your warrior than you did, for example, from your lover than from your magician, right? How many got some answers you could use to make your life better in this area, ladies and gentlemen? Just try one last one. Bring back your warrior for a moment. Wherever your warrior is, touch your warrior, make the warrior sound. Go. Let's wait till warrior sound. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. What does the warrior say? What does the warrior say to your king or queen? What does the warrior say? The warrior says to my king or queen what? And what does the king say to the warrior? Warrior may say, King, I will fight for you. We will find the way. And the king says, I know. I'm there with you. What would your magician say to your king? Magician says, dear king, we can change this in a moment. I know it looks terrible, but the king says, I know, I'm with you. Thank you for your service. What does the lover say to your king? I'll love through this always. The king says, I love you, my lover. What do they say to each other? See if you get another insight or two from that. How many got some nice answers from this simple little process? How many think this might be worth doing a little more depth for you later on? All right, give it up for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for everybody. Come on, wake it up. moment before we wrap. Stay standing for a moment. Shake your body out. And if you're sitting, please stand. I'm seeing you there. I see Mary and Courtney. Stand up if you would, Marion, if you're willing to. Thank you. Only reason, Marion, is when you're sitting down, you're cutting off half the energy. When you stand, your whole blood flow goes. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure you're served. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes, stand tall, feeling strong. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that'll lead to your homework here. And the first question is, what has been the story of your life so far? Or what's been the story of limitation that you want to change? Like, what's been the story? It's been a person who, like, remember some people said earlier, life never goes my way, you know, relationships don't go my way, business doesn't, or maybe you've got a good story you'd like to improve. But I'd probably think of a story that's limiting you. Like, what's a belief or story you have about relationships or intimacy or love or kids, parenting, or money, or career, or business that's limited you, or about happiness, or about God. If I had to say, what's the limiting story you used in the past? What's been a limiting story? About a person that struggled with what and couldn't overcome what, couldn't find the way of what? And what role did you play in the story? Were you the jester, the joker? Were you the bishop? Were you the one seeking God? Were you the king? Were you the pawn? Were you the knight? Were you the victim or the victor? What role did you play in your limiting story? What emotions did your old story create? Frustration, or overwhelm, or stress, or loneliness, sadness? If you thought of the most limiting story that's gotten in your way, when it does come up, it's a story about what? A person who can't do what, or deals with what, or struggles with what, or can't find what, who plays what role, who feels what emotions. And then my second story for you is, what would be your new story? What would be a story that today, if you put yourself in a strong state, make a move that makes you feel strong right now. Make a move. Make a move that makes you feel strong. Make a move. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Out loud, shout yes. Make the sound of unstoppable intensity for a moment. Make the sound of unstoppable intensity. Come on, like nothing can stop you. That kind of sound. Make that kind of sound right now. That's it. Feel that right now. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Make it louder and stronger just for a moment. Now, from that state, what's your news story going to be? Remember we said change your story, change your life. What's your news story going to be about a person that used to struggle, but they found the answer? A person who used to feel so stressed out, but now they laugh at some of that crap that used to stress them out. You know, they have that old phrase, don't sweat the small stuff, it's all small stuff, right? Is it the person who uses their magician more? Well, your news story is going to be about a person who does what with herself and their family and their kids, who does what with their body, who does what with their business, does what with their career, does what with their finances, does what with their happiness. And what role do you play in the news story? Are you the lover? Are you the magician? Are you the warrior? Are you the king or queen? Are you all of these? Do you play the strategist? Are you the gift from God? Are you a Legion or an angel for others that you try to serve? What role do you want to play in this news story? What role will you play that will make your life more fulfilling? And every story has challenges, but in the news story, how do you deal with challenges differently than the old way? What do you do? What do you push through? What do you remember? What's the truth that sets you free? If you want to change your whole life, what's your old story? Exaggerate the limitations and the emotions. What are the emotions in your new story? Your life is about what? Life is about growing or giving or doing what for yourself and others? About enjoying what? What's the role you play? What are the emotions in your news story? Is it excitement, hope? Is it passion? Is it decisiveness? Is it courage? Is it boldness? What are three emotions in your news story that would change your whole life? Being bold, being authentic, being creative, being playful. Faith, determination, right? Love, playfulness. What do you need to add to your story to make this life so much richer? How many have already Somebody come up with a new story that's better than the old story. How many have come up with one right now? Put it up there. You can put it in the chat box if you want, but feel it. All right. All right, well, I've gone over by a little bit, but I told you we might go 2.5. I think it's a little more than that. I really hope this has served you today, my friends. If you're my VIP, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all the sweet words, kind words. I love it. We've got 4 more days of this. We have some other beautiful guests. Please don't miss. It's costing you nothing, but here's the price. I want you to do something. Who's up for doing something here, ladies and gentlemen? So what I'm going to ask you to do is to take out your phone and tell us what your old story was. Real briefly, my old story was about this limitation, that challenge. I felt these feelings. I played that role. My new story is, here's what my life's going to be about. This is what I'm focusing on. This is the role I'm going to play. These are the emotions I'm going to feel. And then put it in the Facebook group, because I'll be watching them all. I was up all night. Some of you, a few of you, I've wrote and put little videos to at 3 a.m. So I'll be there too, but my team will. And we're going to pick some wonderful examples, and you'll inspire other people and yourself, but you'll also be putting yourself on the line, making a declaration, right? Here's the old